It's time travel time. Hear me? Fucking time travel time. Get ready. 3, 2, 1, boom. Howdy, howdy. Welcome back to Luke's Homebrew. This is Luke after not shaving after a week and a half, 2 weeks. Time is irrelevant right now, as I just finished my 4th campaign. I know all the endings to all my current campaigns, and I want to talk to you about time travel. Does it even matter in the D&D realm? Well, that's the answer I want to ask today, because right now I am currently messing around with time in 2 campaigns that are running simultaneously. Now, I break my campaigns into eras, rather than like AD or BC. You can do that, but that's based on the Christian calendar and how things are arranged. I set them kind of like how Skyrim does with eras, and each era ends and begins the next one with a very significant event, such as planeswalkers existing, such as the gates to heaven and hell closing, stuff like that. That's what ends and begins new eras. Well, I had started my first campaign ever, and all my campaigns are in one very long, overarching story, and hopefully when we actually get to finish it up in the present, they will see how it all unfolds. But right now, I sent my players back into the first era. Well, I didn't prep for the first era. Well, like when I originally created this whole world. My first campaign started in the second era. I had no idea what the first era was. I was a new DM. I didn't know what I was doing. But now, I just sent my 4th campaign back to the first era, and they're creating the history for the rest of my world, which is great, because that means I only have to prep like I'm normally prepping, and I don't have to worry all too much about what they do. Now, as they start to do bigger things, such as kidnapping princesses, letting vampiric cults take over entire cities and kingdoms, then that starts to weave into the reality of the world. But what that allows me to do is have a lot of fun with my other campaign and other party that's way in the future, and I'm slowly, I'll play a few sessions back here with my other party, and a few things will happen in the past that they changed. And then I'll go ahead and text, hey, by the way, yeah, you remember that part of your backstory where this, that, and that happened? Yeah, well, it's weird. That seems foggy, and you're starting to, you feel like your memory is wrong, and you don't know why. That's kind of how I run it. I don't want to fuck around with multiple timelines, because multiple timelines, kind of like how they do in Harry Potter, and what's another, Doctor Who. There's a whole bunch of different fantasy and sci-fi genres that mess with multiple timelines. I believe in that, and I think it should exist, but currently I think that's 2 different realms of time travel. I think there's the type of realm of time travel where your party just goes back in time in their own multiverse, pretty much, and then there's the aspect that isn't necessarily time traveling and is more, how do I put it, multiverse jumping. Kind of like how they cast plane shift, except it's not switching from one plane to another. It's instead switching between, I'm in this multiverse with this material plane, with this hell, with this abyss, with this 9 hells. Well, I already said hell. And switching all the way over to a completely different multiverse with a different set of material planes, a different set of 9 hells, a different set of heavens. Everything is slightly different or completely different. And there's probably a tier beyond that, but I don't think my monkey brain could figure it out. But time travel in D&D, I don't think has to be very complicated compared to what we have to think of it as. Because as storytellers, and especially our party being very just let's generally respect the DM and what he has prepared. Now, obviously, he threw us back in time, so he's probably got a lot prepared, so we probably have a lot of freedom. I don't. But if that's the case, and they're just following along, doing what you tell them to, then it can make out for a very fun session, because you as the DM have a lot of freedom to just throw whatever the hell you want at them, and you don't have it. It's not under as many constraints as you really think it is. Because when you go back in time, you start to think, oh, well, if they go and talk to that specific person at that specific time, oh, well, they fucked up the whole timeline and the campaign's over. It's not. Just calm yourself down. Deep breaths. That's not deep breaths. But if they go talk to that person and proceed to slightly change the timeline, oh, well, you're the DM, so you get to choose whether that event was already happened and maybe it was another NPC and not the party member, or if that does change timeline. You're a god. You're better than God. You create gods. So really, you control time, you control everything, so you can determine whether or not that actually affects the future or not. So you don't have to worry about that. Obviously, a few things should, especially the big things, especially if they go kill a king of the kingdom, but it might also be funny as hell for them to go back in time and then proceed to go through and wipe out a whole kingdom, and then go back to the present and start researching again, or maybe you foreshadowed all of it because you kind of expected your players to do it anyways, and they go back to the present and realize they were the ones that caused themselves to go back in time to begin with, and whoop-de-doo, they're in a time loop, which is going to be a whole nother story arc of them trying to get out of that time loop. Hence, look at Call of Duty Zombies. That is the best example of a non-stop time loop with one of the best stories ever made, ever. Honestly, you guys should look it up. There's enough really good videos on the whole storyline. I don't want to bring it up. And also, this is a D&D, but also Call of Duty channel. So I'll leave it at that. If you're interested, I'll maybe leave a link in the description. It's up to you guys. But we're coming close to 10 minutes. But main points that I want to drive home was time travel doesn't have to be very complicated. As the storyteller and weaver of reality in D&D, you get to determine what the rules of time are. Obviously, trying to stay pretty logistical with with our current understanding of time travel and all that stuff in the real world. But at the end of the day, it's a fantasy realm. Everything exists, magic exists, and you're God, so you get to really decide how fate works. And I think it's a really fun idea to play with, especially with your players, because really, like, how many D&D campaign, how many modular books have Wizards of the Coast released where your players get to go back or forward in time and really play with the world? I can't think of a single one off the top of my head. I'm sure maybe one exists, but I doubt it. Let your players do it. I hate the DM philosophy of, oh, well, my players are all OP and powerful. I can't give them this control over whatever. Stop it. Knock it off. All right? Stop. Let your players have fun. It's a fantasy realm. If you don't like what they did, then throw them through time travel. Say they killed a shopkeeper. Sure. Say the shopkeeper didn't give him the discount and they went all murder hobo on him. Okay, well, have them walk through the door and then proceed to step through the door, and that was a portal in time, and start doing Groundhog Day on them and until they learn their lesson. That might be a very funny and hysterical session for your party to play in. But this was kind of rambly. This wasn't like a set detailed list of suggestions that you should do for integrating time travel into your thing. Really, I don't even know what to call this type of video. A rant, a suggestions list, just fuck around, have fun. It's D&D. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Yet again, I don't know what to call this. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed to the end, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.